So if you've read the title of this video, you probably already have one big question. And you know what? We'll get to that. So for the past couple weeks, I got to be involved with probably one of the biggest marching band related gigs that I've ever been a part of and probably will ever be a part of.
We out here.
I'm referring, of course, to Super Bowl Halftime LII. Size-wise, this was easily the biggest production I've ever gotten to be a part of. It was an absolutely wild experience, which is why I thought it'd be pretty cool to talk about in the video. I asked you guys what questions you might have on Twitter and Instagram, and I'll probably answer most of them as I go, but I'll definitely answer the rest towards the end. There are a lot of different casts involved with this production, which had a lot of people in it, like in the thousands. Obviously, we had the main talent, which was Maroon 5, Travis Scott, Big Boy. We also had the drum line, which was Equinox from Atlanta. We had the choir that you saw on stage. And then you had the fan cast, which you see surrounding the stage and cheering and going crazy. We had the LED tiles, which were those lights that you see on the sides of the stage. We had the drone trays, which if you've seen the lanterns that were floating around that spelled out One Love, they're the ones who were in charge of getting them on and getting them off the fields. And then beyond them, there were the stage movers who had probably one of the most stressful jobs, putting up and tearing down the stage within a certain amount of time, and also setting up the lights, the speakers, the pyrotechnics. And then of course there were our coordinators who ran rehearsal, handled logistics, kept everything going really smoothly, and they did a really awesome job throughout this whole project. So specifically, I got to be a part of the LED cast. Basically, we had these light up tiles that were like a foot by a foot, maybe a little bit bigger. They had 300 something little tiny LED lights on them that would change colors, occasionally make pictures, and they created this really cool light effect on the sides of the stages. The LED casting was actually done through Georgia State Bands, which I got to be a part of a couple of years ago. We got the news around December, and then rehearsals started from late January going into early February, basically leading up to the Super Bowl.
Bro, we out here.
We out here.
ATL.
Friday.
Toyotathon.
Last rehearsal. The city is absolutely bonkers
Anything
right
is
now.
possible!
The city is absolutely wild right now. There's so many cars, there's so much security, there's so many jerseys. The way rehearsals were ran was actually pretty cool. They started very bare bones, staging us and giving us our drill spots. As the rehearsals went on, we would start to layer more and more things into the production. One day we would just, maybe learn drill. The next day we'd learn some basic choreography. It actually wasn't until the full dress rehearsal that we got to see, the main talent acts and rehearse with them. So we did the first dress rehearsal today. It was pretty wild.
It was a lot of fun.
It was. We had Adam Levine, we had Big Boy, we had
Travis Scott.
Travis Scott. We were 15 yards away from Adam Levine. That was pretty cool. He's a pretty cool guy. We don't really know what they're gonna put on TV or kind of all the shots that they're gonna put up, but there's a lot going on the field. There's a lot that goes into getting on the field, staging everybody, all the lights and stuff. It's a very intricate process. Since there were so many people on the field, we actually used these little in-ear radios to get our instructions, which I found to be a super effective part of the rehearsals. I imagine if you're in a big marching band program, whether it's high school or college, these would probably come in handy a lot. The most fun parts were probably any chance we got to basically be a part of the fan cast. We weren't doing the LED tile stuff. It was basically getting to go to a really big concert 3 times in a row. Hey, where are we going?
To the bins.
Now, game day itself was pretty wild. We met up at an off-site location. We as in the LEDs, the trays, the fans, the drum line. And then we were bused to Mercedes-Benz Stadium. We also had a police escort, which if you've done drum corps in the horn line or the battery, you're familiar with the concept of warming up in Military Park, and then you get a short police escort taking you to Lucas Oil Stadium. It's like less than a 10-minute drive probably. To get us to Mercedes-Benz, we basically had as many roads as possible closed off to get this convoy of 20 buses through, and people are like pointing on the streets like, what is this? What is happening? And then once we got there, it was a pretty fast-paced process of getting us off the buses, getting us through security so we could wait in the stadium for halftime. You might be familiar with the moments when your band or your ensemble takes the field or takes the floor for competition. You look up and you see the crowd and they're cheering and everything. It was like that, but they weren't marching band fans, they were football fans. They were stacked, you know, all the way to the top of the stands. At least I think they were. I couldn't really see. And then the actual halftime performance itself, the energy from, you know, everybody involved was just wild. We had finally reached that point of, we made it, let's just go all out for everything. So hopefully I answered most of the questions y'all had, but if there's any others, let's see. Alright, so this was the most asked question, so we'll just get this one out of the way. Why was there no Sweet Victory? Sweet Victory was never actually promised anywhere. People saw on social media that SpongeBob was going to be somehow involved with the Super Bowl. There was also the fact that Steven Hillenburg recently passed away. And then there were like screen caps or video shots from the actual Band Geeks episode. So it makes sense why people thought it would be Sweet Victory, but that was never explicitly stated anywhere. Were you bummed when there was no Sweet Victory? A little bit. So it was actually during one rehearsal where, on the big, like, essentially Jumbotron inside Mercedes-Benz, they played the SpongeBob clip, and then we were all really excited, and then it immediately transitioned into sicko mode. I was a little surprised, but at the same time, I was still just grateful to be there, so it's whatever. How hyped was it, especially walking through the tunnels? I'm assuming that's how you got down the field. So like I said, there was, you know, that big process of getting us into Mercedes-Benz through security and stuff like that. And then it became another one of those hurry up and wait things. Like, we lined ourselves up in the tunnel and we waited for probably like 30 minutes. So when we were in that process of waiting, I feel like the energy kind of like dipped down a little bit. But then once we saw like the stage parts moving and like the lines started moving and stuff, the energy just immediately was ridiculous. Like, we were all just so hyped.
We out here. That was fun. That was fun. We had fun. We had fun. Avery.
So much fun.
Hey. Woo! We did a thing. We did the thing. Oh, it's not working. How would you say your halftime performance was?
Pretty good.
Pretty good? Oh. Pretty good.
There was a lot of people.
Oh, what's up? What's up?
Hey.
How was your halftime performance?
It was awesome.
Yeah. Dang, 404. 404.
404 got all tatted on my body.
What was the biggest thing you learned about the size of a production like this? That's an awesome question. The biggest thing I learned from this kind of production is that no matter how big or how small your role is, you know, like if you're Adam Levine or if you're pushing pyrotechnic speaker number 6 onto the field, your part is just as important. And you know, that even goes beyond what you see on the field for halftime. Like when we had rehearsals, there were people who had to check us in, there were people who had to take us through security. Basically, there's a lot, like an unfathomable amount of jobs that need to happen for a production like this, and every single one of them is as essential as the others, if that makes sense. How long did the rehearsals take? Did you get to meet the singers? The rehearsals took about a couple hours each. We got out early for a good amount of them just because we got whatever we needed to do done pretty quickly. No, I did not get to meet the singers, but I got to stand 15 yards away from them, and that's probably closer than I'll ever get to them. Do you feel as though the band community was robbed of its full Bubble Bowl performance? No, because you weren't promised the Bubble Bowl. Which SpongeBob character did you feel like that night? Squilliam. Did you get to keep anything from the performance? Yes. Obviously, we got to keep our little radio things. We got these very nice Pepsi Super Bowl halftime gloves, which are pretty cool. They're the kind you can text with, which is absolutely vital in 2019. And we got to keep the uniform, which looks like this. Yep. I just realized I didn't really talk too much about the uniform. It's basically a black jumpsuit, like they're coveralls basically. They feel kind of like bibber material that you'd wear as part of a marching band uniform. They also have these nice hoods with them, which we didn't really end up using. And yeah, that about covers most things. So to end this video, I just want to give a couple quick shout outs to some really awesome people. First, I definitely want to thank Georgia State Bands for giving all of us the opportunity to be a part of this. Thank you to Devin Reed, TC, Dr. Phillips for doing such awesome jobs at keeping everything organized and making this a really fun experience for not just the current band members, but for all the alumni that got to be involved. I want to give a shout out to my friends at Equinox who got to be in the drumline on stage. You guys did an absolutely amazing job, and it was just so cool getting to see my friends up on the stage with the lights and the cameras on them. And also shout out to the organizers who helped us through the halftime performance, KP, Julie, director Hamish Hamilton. Thank you guys for making such an awesome production. It was a lot of fun to be a part of. And yeah, if y'all have any other questions relating to the Super Bowl halftime show, leave a comment and then I'll try to answer those. Otherwise, leave a comment telling me what's the most fun performance you've ever gotten to be a part of. It could be, marching band, drum corps, it could be theater, it could be a gig or anything like that. I just want to hear about a time you had a genuinely fun time performing. And yeah, with that, I will see you guys next time.
Anything
right
is
now.
possible!